Do you know what the profit margin is for grocery stores in 2023? Do you know the number? What do you think? Do you think they make 30% margin, 20%, maybe 18%? I'll give you the number. But why am I talking about this? Because a presidential candidate wants to do this.
I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food.
She did say price gouging, and by the way, English is my fifth language, so let me correct. She meant to say price gouging is what she meant to say. However, do you know what they make, their profit margin, grocery stores, according to marketplace.org? 1.6%, nothing. Worse than restaurants. That means if they do $1 million, oh my God, these people make so much money. Profit is $16,000. That's it. How the hell do you make money on 1.6%? Yet it's price gouging. We've gone and pulled up research. What happens when a candidate or somebody wants to do this to a country? And then I'm going to give you case studies of us having done this in the past before and how it worked out. We're going to talk about that today. If you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. By the way, do you know when people start talking about price gouging? You know when they do? When the economy sucks. Do you know Kamala Harris getting up there saying, we're going to be doing price gouging is what we're going to be doing? That's an indirect way of saying the economy currently sucks and our policies the last 4 years destroyed America. That's the translation of what it means to price gouge. Now, for the sake of this argument, let's give the argument for why it makes sense to do this, and let's make the argument why it doesn't make sense to do this. So let's go through it. Argument for: market failure correction. Price control can be useful in cases of market failure where market forces to not allocate resources efficiently or where certain goods are deemed essential but are not accessible due to exorbitant pricing. For example, rent controls and housing markets are used to ensure affordable living spaces, especially in high demand urban areas. Number two, stabilizing price during crisis. Today, there's an economic crisis. If Kamala's choosing to do this today, that means she's trying to say our policies are causing us to be in a crisis. Price ceiling can be particularly effective during economic shocks or natural disasters, when prices for essential goods might skyrocket due to temporary shortages. There is no prices skyrocketing for profit. They're skyrocketing because of bad policies causing inflation, not because people are making 70% profit. They're making 1.6%. So this doesn't make any sense. Number three, reducing inequality. Again, price floors such as minimum wage laws are aimed to ensure that workers receive a livable income. Minimum wage laws are designed to provide workers with a standard of living above poverty levels, improving social welfare. Now, sometimes policies are the reason why you're causing the populace to be poor. You're handing out so many free different programs that they don't have the drive to go out there and compete. That's part of bad policies. Now let's make the case against it. Number one, distortion of supply and demand. Price ceilings can lead to shortages as lower prices often reduce the incentive for producers to supply the good while increasing demand due to lower prices. Example, rent control often leads to shortage of available housing as landlords may be less willing to rent or invest in maintaining properties when rent prices are capped below market value. Number two, reduce incentives for production and innovation. Price controls can reduce the profit incentive for producers, leading lower investment in production, innovation, and quality, which again in agriculture, price ceilings on staple foods might discourage farmers from producing those crops, leading to future shortages and lower quality food production. Number three, black markets and efficiencies. When prices are artificially set below market equilibrium, black markets often emerge to circumvent the controls. In economies with strict price controls on goods like gasoline, black markets have risen where people can buy the same product at a much higher prices than the official cap. Four, wasted resources. Price ceilings often result in inefficiency with resources being wasted as consumers and producers engage in non-price rationing to access the controlled goods. Example, in the case of controlled fuel prices, consumers may face long lines at gas stations, wasting time and creating unnecessary competition. Have you gone through that before? That's what they want to do to America. Does that look like the American dream to you? Now, let me give you some other case studies to say, well, maybe, Pat, why are you being so negative about this? What if this actually worked? So the ancient Rome tried to do a similar thing. Roman Emperor Diocletian imposed price controls in 301 AD through the Edict of Maximum Prices. Result, the controls led to widespread shortages as producers stopped selling goods at the mandated prices, creating black markets. Enforcement was difficult, and the policy eventually collapsed, contributing to economic instability. Did you see what happened in? Now, this is just one case study. I got a few more to go through, but they said this is one of the issues, and we went through it, and it happened in Rome. Now, let's go to the next one. France, Revolutionary Era. Implementation. The French Revolution saw the law of maximum in 1793, which set maximum prices on bread and other essentials to control inflation. Result, It led to food shortages and black markets. Farmers and producers were unwilling to sell at artificially low prices, and enforcement led to public unrest. The law was repealed in 1794. Again, failure. Number 3, U.S. World War II and the 70s. Implementation of World War II. The U.S. government imposed price controls via the Office of Price Administration, OPA, to manage inflation during World War II. Result, while controls were generally successful in preventing hyperinflation during wartime, they led to shortages and emergence of black markets for goods like meat, tires, and gasoline. In the 70s, a Republican president, Nixon, thought about this idea. He imposed wage and price controls in 71 to combat inflation. Initially, inflation slowed, but once controls were lifted, inflation surged, leading to the stagflation of the 70s, a mix of high inflation and unemployment.
People who want to work but can't find jobs.
UK, World War II. Implementation, the government imposed price controls and rationing during and after World War II. Price controls results were effective during the war in managing inflation and distributing limited resources, but they also caused shortages. You notice the trend: shortages, black market. Argentina, they did it in 2000s and 2010s to fight inflation. Results, their measures have often led to shortages of goods as businesses were unable to cover costs. This created a black market and worsened inflation in the long term. Producers hoarded products and the economy continued to struggle. Notice, shortages, black market, shortages, black market, short-term good, long-term destroyed the economy. Venezuela, same thing, under Hugo Chavez and Maduro. Strict price controls on food, fuel, and other essentials started in the early 2000s. What happened? This led to widespread shortages of basic goods, rampant inflation, and the growth of black markets. Same thing. Zimbabwe, same thing. Russia post-Soviet Union, same thing. Cuba, same thing. India, 70s and 80s, implemented price controls on food and other essentials during the 70s and 80s to protect the poor and curb inflation. Ready? The controls led to shortages and inefficiencies in distribution, contributing to food insecurity in some areas. Economic reforms in the 90s removed many of these controls, which helped liberalize the economy and spur growth. Germany, same thing. Mexico in the 80s, same thing. Egypt in 2010s, same thing. It doesn't matter where you do it. It leads to shortages and black market, but it gets you to win an election though, which if it matters to win an election, great strategy. But at the cost of destroying the economy and people, oh, are you okay with that? Because you got an election coming up in the next few weeks here. So if you got value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And by the way, all this stuff we talked about, you noticed the pattern on what everything was. You got what? Shortages, black market, inflation, and economic instability. We did a video specifically on food shortages. If you like this video, you're definitely going to like this video as well. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.